Chevron, Shell, Exxon. Since the 1980s, these companies have known about the scientific link between their products and global warming. Unfortunately, rather than taking action to reduce emissions, they've used their money and their wealth to lobby against government officials to prevent policy actions that would reduce pollution.
Oil companies like Exxon have known for decades that their pollution is changing the climate. They're not denying their responsibility, but they're more interested in protecting the current energy economy, aka their profits. For more on that, I'm heading to Northern California to meet Jason Barbos with Union of Concerned Scientists.
This summer, when we faced a big legislative battle around whether California should set goals to cut oil use, the latest reports from the state show that the oil industry is spending $30,000 a day lobbying against those provisions in California. And over the last 10 years, they've spent $250 million.
What are they spending that money on?
Well, one of the big ways that the oil industry is spending money is to create a whole series of front groups that appear to be genuine, people-powered grassroots groups, but are really just a front for pushing the oil industry's agenda. In political circles, people often refer to that as astroturf groups.
Fake grassroots.
The California Drivers Alliance spent millions of dollars on TV ads, radio ads, direct mail pieces. Here's an example of one of the mailers they sent this year. They just decided to rename this bill and call it California Gas Restriction Act. Apparently even the toddlers are chipping in there and pushing the van home.
It's impressive that all of the family is really on the right side of the van, and then this toddler's like, I got it.
These astroturf groups are all about fear-mongering, bad information, and surprisingly low-budget ads. So I use their tactics to make an ad for something I don't like.
From our classrooms to our boardrooms, our traditional handshake is under attack. Miss Kelly might call it a hug, but it's really a restriction on our personal freedom. Be it the too long hug, the shirtless hug, and the sneak attack hug. Let's leave hugging to the animals who invented it. After all, we're not bears, we're people. People who shake hands, and that is all. Protect your family and our way of life by joining these real, non-stock photo humans in a grassroots movement totally not funded by some big corporation to preserve the American handshake, because they know the fake science is clear. Hugs lead to disease, and disease means death. So join us, buy the hand, and say no to hugs. This ad is paid for by Big Handshake. Big Handshake does not endorse actual person-to-person contact.
All right, so Big Handshake hasn't had any influence yet. But other astroturf groups have. Thankfully, when our innovative policies do get passed, Californians like VN Trung at Green for All are making sure they benefit our most polluted communities. After all, she grew up in one of them.
I'm the youngest of 11 kids, born to a refugee family that came here after the Vietnam War. We were migrant farm workers. I picked strawberries, and we worked in sweatshops. I thought that if I figured out the issues around poverty, then we would live a great life. Then I learned about pollution and global warming.
And why should I care about that in particular?
Because we have a world where now 7 million people are dying from pollution. If we don't begin addressing that issue, then it doesn't matter how beautiful our homes are. It doesn't matter if we have solar panels. It's not going to see the light of day. So how do we begin to address these issues together? AB 32 requires that we get to 1990 levels of greenhouse gas emissions by 2020. The most ambitious target set around how we all can reduce our pollution, our carbon. These refineries, these manufacturing centers, these coal companies, let's make sure that they are paying for the pollution they put into the air, and then making sure that it's going to the things that people need.
Pollution impacts low-income communities across California. We are now in a majority-minority state, so minorities are our biggest population. California's future is in bad shape if we don't ensure their upward mobility. PolicyLink's Angela Glover-Blackwell is trying to do just that with her work on the Fair Shake Commission.
Looking at what you have and investing in what you have to get what you need. That's equity. California has a population now that is healthier, better educated, more job ready than that population was over 50 years ago. It needs to roll up its sleeves again, invest in equity, and make sure that the people who are going to be the future of California lead it into a bright and prosperous place. The Fair Shake Commission has been designed to create a deep understanding among people who have influence in the state of California about what's feeding inequality and to come up with strategies that can address it. And not to be afraid to think about legislative and political strategies. These problems are deep and systemic, and they have to be addressed with political and policy strategies. And I think that this commission has that commitment.
As I head to meet Tom Steyer again to share my experiences, I'm reminded how little I knew about these issues only a few weeks ago. Now I've met Californians living without running water, Californians breathing toxic air, and Californians fighting back. I had one question for everyone I met.
Why should I care?
Why should I care? And the answer was always the same. You are rude. Then they'd tell me that even if you think it's not your problem, it's affecting you in one way or another. So we need to come together.
If you have 3 kids and you're trying to make ends meet, and also you have an oil field in your backyard, and also you're supposed to fight that oil field, I don't think that's a reasonable burden to place on that person.
So the question is, why are their representatives not making the fight?
Right. The business here was considered more important than the person. Like, it's ultimately going to screw you over and screw your pool over, and it's going to screw your air over. Yeah, to have that attitude.
That's my point, is, you know, having that selfish attitude, I don't think is a long-term winning attitude. There are always going to be people pushing back, and it takes a lot of energy to push against them. The question is, are we going to force it to happen? And the answer has got to be yes.
Thanks for meeting with me, Tom.
Kiran, thank you for making me laugh.
Handshake?
Can't hug across the table.
No, you can't. And it's just as well.